Hi, we're here at the Flame Conference, and I'm talking to Helm, who is the economist and fellow of New College at Oxford University. Dieter has just given a very interesting presentation in the main room, and I'd just like to take this opportunity, Dieter, to give you a chance to summarise how you think the US shale gas has changed the situation for Europe.
Well, thank you for the question. The discovery of shale gas in the United States on a commercial basis is a game changer. The US is now just about a net exporter of energy, and as 25% of the world economy having withdrawn from the gas importing business, it's changed the dynamics of the world markets. This has big implications. It is a game changer for the design of energy policy, particularly here in Europe. It provides a big opportunity for us to get out of coal and get into gas on a scale that we hadn't previously thought of. But it also poses big challenges for the renewables and the nuclear sectors, both of which will not easily come into the market in terms of pricing, because it's unlikely that the oil and the gas prices will rise to a level that was assumed to make those things economic.
Right. It seems that nobody saw this coming. Was it? Can you explain why nobody saw it coming, and is there anybody who did anticipate it?
In history there are breakthroughs, and you might say nobody saw penicillin coming, or nobody saw our ability to get rockets to the moon coming. This is a technical breakthrough. People foresaw that we might get good at seismic IT. They foresaw that we might quite good at horizontal drilling. They didn't really understand that we might get quite good at fracking rocks at depth, but it's the combination of all three of those technologies which opens up a resource on an enormous scale. And the conventional wisdom had been that we were basically running out of fossil fuels. What this tells us is that the Earth's crust is riddled with fossil fuels, and what's more, we've got some technology to get quite a lot of them out.
Okay, if you were UK Energy Minister, with this new information, what would you change?
I, first of all, would run a million miles from being a politician because I'd have all the political pressures that are there. But, I mean, for the UK, the question's very straightforward. Do we really want to spend 100 billion on a crash course to build as many offshore windmills as possible at, those very high costs? Or do we want to concentrate on reducing emissions, in which case we should switch from coal to gas faster than we otherwise would have done? The cost differential is at least 10 to 1, and if I was dictator for a day, of that 100 billion, supposing it cost 10 billion, probably cost less to make the coal to gas substitution to make the same emissions reductions, I'd spend the 90 billion on all that R&D for those fantastic technological possibilities we got further out for a whole host of low or zero carbon technologies from 2030 onwards.
Right. In the main session you spoke about the possible or probable impact of the shale gas increase on oil-linked contracts, in particular the Germans and the Italians and their relationship with Gazprom. And you drew some parallels with what happened in the UK. I was in British Gas at the time, and part of the renegotiation. How do you think this will play out? Because effectively in the UK, British Gas ended up buying its way out of those contracts, which had a fundamental impact on Centrica when it was formed.
So let's be clear what the problem is. The problem is that there are a host of oil-indexed long-term take-or-pay contracts for gas in Europe, primarily from Russia. Okay? And the question is, what happens if shale gas lowers the price of gas so that these contracts are out of the market? Okay? Well, in the UK, in the late 1990s, of course, the government drove through the competition policy which enabled customers to switch from British Gas to alternative cheaper suppliers. So therefore the contracts were stranded, and therefore there was no option but either to default or renegotiate those contracts. The question in Europe is the internal market sufficiently embedded, or will it be sufficiently embedded, such that people who are at the moment committed customers to those companies that have signed those contracts, those take-or-pay contracts, can they get out of them? And that's up for grabs. And so what I'm suggesting is there's going to be a tussle between the protection of those contracts and the interests that go with those contracts and the interest of consumers and European industry that wants to compete on the world stage at world prices.
Right.